People are exhausted. After years of mandates, lockdowns, and legal arguments, there is a collective desire to close the book and never look back. But deep inside the federal court system, quiet legal battles are proving that the fallout from those years is far from settled. At the center of these battles is the bedrock of modern medical ethics. Principles like the Belmont Report were established specifically to protect citizens from being subjected to medical interventions without their fully informed consent. Ignoring these legal challenges is an act of collective amnesia. It ensures that the tactics used to bypass medical ethics remain a hidden, unchallenged part of our legal history. To understand the conflict, you have to see the strict legal difference between these two drug classifications. On one side, you have a fully FDA-approved product holding a biologics license. On the other, you have an emergency use authorization, or EUA. An EUA is, by definition, an investigational product. Federal law is clear on this. If a product holds an investigational EUA status, citizens possess a statutory right to refuse it. When the government announced its mandates, it publicly claimed the product being administered was the fully FDA-approved vaccine branded as Comirnaty. But the fully approved Comirnaty product was never distributed in the U.S. The only product made available was the legally distinct investigational EUA version. This regulatory gap allowed authorities to present an investigational drug as a fully approved one. By conflating the two, the government effectively engineered a nationwide bait-and-switch that bypassed the public's legal right to refuse. Stephen Bennett was a senior management analyst at the Federal Reserve Board, hired for his ability to identify material signals in complex data. He was also a cancer patient undergoing active treatment. When the mandate was announced, Bennett submitted a medical exemption request built on 3 factual pillars: his oncologist's advice, scientific data showing mRNA vaccines were less effective for cancer patients, and the FDA's own records regarding EUA status. The Federal Reserve, acting on guidance from the Department of Health and Human Services, dismissed all 3 points. They offered no substantive engagement, directly overriding the recommendation of his treating physician. Bennett faced a brutal ultimatum. He could either take an experimental product against his doctor's advice, or he could be fired and lose the health insurance sustaining his cancer care. Stephen Bennett's case reveals a catastrophic breakdown in the system. The very HHS regulations intended to protect human subjects were used as the mechanism to terminate a man for exercising them. While Bennett was focused on the regulatory reality, the public health apparatus was broadcasting a narrative of absolute certainty from the podium. High-profile health officials assured the country the science was settled. They promised the public the vaccines were long-lasting and would only require 2 doses. But that certainty decayed in real time. Within months, the goalpost shifted to 3 doses, then 4, and eventually 5. Despite these shifting facts, the demand for compliance remained absolute. Citizens were expected to obey the latest iteration of the narrative, no matter how much it contradicted the one from the month before. The tragedy of this era was the government destroying careers to enforce total obedience to a scientific reality that they were essentially writing as they went along. Today, there is a staggering legal asymmetry in how these cases are handled. The federal government recently moved to dismiss all charges against doctors who forged vaccine cards, yet it continues to fight citizens like Stephen Bennett in court. This creates a perverse incentive for the next crisis. It suggests that transparency and honest objection will be met with termination, while those who counterfeit their compliance are eventually forgiven. It is natural to want to forget the trauma, the division, and the heavy-handed mandates of those years. But there is a vital distinction between moving on and moving forward. Moving on is the cowardice of amnesia. It ignores the documented coercion used to enforce compliance. Moving forward requires a full accounting of these events. It demands restitution for those who were coerced and an ironclad commitment that the suspension of informed consent never happens again.